Hey there! So I wanted to share with you guys some art journaling that I did the other day. It was a rainy afternoon, so I decided to go ahead and revisit my art journal, which is an old vintage ledger that I have here. So the first thing I did was I glued 2 pages together to make some extra heavy duty pages, dried those up, and kind of got the surface prepared. And then I go ahead and I cover the whole thing with clear gesso. This gets the pages ready for paint and collage and all the good stuff that I'm about to do to it. I like using wax paper in between my pages. It helps me to, prevents me from making a mess on the other pages, keep glue away, and it's just a handy thing to do. So now I'm using Gaff tape. And this is a really strong fabric tape that's actually used a lot in theater and in production for film. And it's really, really strong. And you can use it to help bind up your seam and help your binding stay together. So I just put some clear gesso on that as well. Get that ready to go. And then I choose my color palette. You guys know I love this Color Seeds book or Design Seeds book, and I pick my color palette, and that way I have a roadmap for what I want to do next. So I start to pick ephemera from my huge selection of ephemera that I have, and now that I have my color palette, I know exactly what to pick. And I pick out my paints as well. And then I'm going to start doing some collaging. I tried to keep this process as intuitive as I could. I tried not to think too much about it. I wanted to just keep moving and just kind of allow this piece to evolve. I have no expectation for it. I really don't know what it's going to turn out to be. No plan other than the color and these pieces of ephemera I've picked out. And I just kind of let it happen. That's a piece from an anthropology magazine of a woman in a doorway. I thought that was kind of cool. Thought I could use that somehow. Really wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with it, but I liked the look of it. That's an old photo of me that I took a long time ago and had it printed right from my phone. And I thought, well, maybe I'll do a little work on that. And I like the tones in this photo really work well with my color palette. Using matte medium as my glue, and I'm making sure I do a really nice coat underneath the pieces of paper and the photo, and also on top. Sometimes it's handy to use a credit card to get some of those wrinkles out. You can see once you have your color palette picked, you can really flow, and you don't have to be worrying about, is this going to go with this and all that. You can really just kind of let things happen now that you have your colors selected. I used to be an interior designer, so I think that's one of the reasons I choose a color palette so early on in my process. It just helps me be able to focus and not have to think too much about color once it's selected. And you can see I'm tackling both pages at once because I really want them to, be a spread. And you can see my little kitten Leo there. He's decided to come and have a look at what I'm doing. He is rather adorable, and I was going to edit him out, but then I thought, no, maybe you guys will want to see him. So he kind of pops in and out of the video. If you guys are wondering where I got this ledger, I actually got it off of Etsy. They come up for sale every once in a while, so keep your eye out if you're looking for an antique ledger. I did have to bind this one up a little bit by using the Gaff tape on the binding, and that helped kind of keep it all together. But I love how it looks, and I love the feel of it. Just getting everything dry. There's Leo again. He's very curious. So now I'm going to start painting, and I like to just really go for it and start rubbing paint in. I tend to, rub paint with my fingers. It just feels good to me, and it helps me connect with the piece. And I am just purely doing this by intuition now and just going for it. I think that's what's so great about art journaling, is that you can kind of just let yourself just have fun and not have any expectations for your outcome, and just kind of flow with the piece and see where it takes you. You'll see me jump around and do lots of different things, and that's because, again, I'm working straight from intuition. Whatever feels right at the time, I grab it and I just do it. And I figure if I don't like it, I'll just paint over it. And you'll see I cover some things, I reveal some other things, I paint over areas that I don't like or aren't working for me, and the page kind of evolves as I go. I love being able to just paint over magazine images, and so you can see me doing this here with the anthropology image. I'm using my Marks pencil to go in and further define her form, but I'm kind of recreating her and making her work for my composition. You can see that I try to use color in different areas of the piece to help the color move throughout the composition, and that's really important for color harmony. And so your eye likes it when color moves throughout a piece. So I use that yellow ochre and I kind of spread it around. You'll see me do that with all the colors. And this is why my art room becomes a huge mess, because I work fast and I'm just pulling stuff out as it's calling to me. So it's a messy process, but it's really fun. I'm using a Marks pencil right over the top of my photo and just kind of delineating my features and just making the photo look a little bit more graphic. I love using that metal tool to scratch in the paint and make marks that way. And that's just a clay tool. And then, as you guys know, with the Marks pencil, if you use water or gesso, it activates it and it becomes more like a paint. So I'm softening the lines in my photograph by using a brush with a little bit of water. I love to add a handwritten effect to my work, and I do that a lot with my digital work and my traditional work. So I'm using my Marks pencil there to do that. And have your baby wipes handy, because if you do something that you don't like, you can go ahead and wipe it away. It's no big deal. The one thing I knew I wanted from this piece is that I wanted it to feel very rough. I didn't want to get hung up in detail. I didn't want to make anything too perfect. I wanted it to feel very kind of spontaneous, and I think this process kind of gives you that look. I love this ink pen. It is amazing. It has a little bit of lacquer in it. It's so it actually has a little bit of shine to it. It's just an awesome brush pen. And I love to use it to add linear marks and really high contrast marks. And that's what I like about this process. Try not to get hung up. If you make a mistake, just quickly cover it up with paint or a piece of paper or whatever, and just keep moving. Don't stop and go, oh, I didn't want it to look like that, or oh, I made a mistake. Like, don't even worry about it. Just keep moving, and I think you'll enjoy the process a lot more. It's so easy for us to get hung up on perfectionism or a certain desired outcome. And for me, art journaling is not about that. And it's really quite amazing. Here I'm writing some of the thoughts and words that are coming into my head, and I didn't even think about them. I'm just letting them come out, and I think this is really kind of a neat feeling to be able to tap into your subconscious a little bit and allow those thoughts and words to just flow. We all have a lot going on in our brains, and in a way, this is very meditative and allows you to be present, and it's very, very cathartic. Again, here where I'm drawing a figure, I'm not going to get hung up on proportion and all the details. I'm just letting it happen and seeing how that works and not getting stressed out about making it perfect. This is my fine line applicator, and I love these. They're so awesome. You fill them with fluid acrylic paint, and they are like these little paint pens, but they're really fun for adding marks, for adding scrawly lines, details. I could not do without mine. This is why I love the Marks pencils. You can really just start kind of quickly sketching and, just allowing the form to have its own kind of energy. And then you can use the water and really diffuse the shape. and I think it's a really neat effect. Now the other thing I love to do with this ink pen is, you'll see me do it in a minute, is I love to apply it and then use water to make it drip. I think everybody loves a good drip, so that ink pen is great for making that happen. So you can see I applied it, and then I simply dab my brush along the edges where the fresh ink is, tilt my book up, and we've got some nice drips happening. So the bird, because now the drips are coming from the bird, it kind of visually connects it to my face and then also to the figure. And the way the bird's wings are, they point to the other page. So it kind of, your eyes kind of look at the bird, look down, and then look across. You can see I'm repeating the drips across the page too, just to further kind of make a connection there. And then I find some words from one of my pieces of ephemera that I love, that resonates with me, and I just go ahead and collage that on. Leo is with me the whole time. He was a good boy too, he didn't step in the paint. It's pretty fun having a little kitty friend cheering you along. Adding some finishing touches with my fine line paint applicator. Now this is another fine line applicator, but it's a smaller gauge, so it's a smaller amount of paint that comes out, so it's great for details. I believe that's the 20 gauge. So I've got those circles down in my earrings, so I'm repeating that shape again throughout the composition. It's important to really look at the piece as a whole and make sure that there's repetition, because that creates visual harmony. And that is a Sharpie Meanstreak, and it is like almost like a wax crayon. It will write on anything. Going back in with micron pen and adding some further mark making. You can see as layer upon layer happens, it creates a more complex, more interesting, story to tell. And pretty happy with it there. I like the texture, I like all the layers, the color works for me. And I actually ended up adding some collage over the mouth of my picture, and it's finished. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks for watching.